Hello, hi everyone. How are you? So welcome to Leaders Talk FB page. So this is actually our first time, inviting our lovely speaker, Mr. Wesley Chan. So for introduction, Chan is one of the sales breakthrough coach and also keynote speaker. Um, he has a lot of achievement, inspiring entrepreneurship, etc. awards, and then three times TEDx speaker. That's something that we are really proud of. So today's topic, we will discuss on the embracing change, the new normal. So there will be a lot of changes happening once we've been affected by COVID-19. Then of course there will be a lot of as new rules, new SOP be introduced, and these are the issues that we need to so-called share with you guys, and also with our invited speaker, Mr. Wesley Chan. So um, maybe we can start, Mr. Wesley.
Yes, I'm good to go. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Wesley, for your participation. All right. Maybe for the start, maybe Wesley can give a definition. What does embracing change means? Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Asmi, for having me right now. And for those of you watching this, thank you and good evening. And I also want to take this chance to wish all of you here Happy Father's Day for those of you fathers. All right. And now, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Wesley Chan. Very honored to be invited here on this show. I have been doing training for the past 9 years, specifically in the area of sales, persuasion, and soft skills. Sales and leadership is something that I'm very passionate about. So very grateful to be doing this for the past 9 years, travel across the 18 cities, and have trained more than 120,000 people along the way. Very grateful to be a 3 times TEDx speaker, sharing on different platforms, speaking engagements on leadership, passion, and on sales. Now, back to the question here today as we talk about embracing change. So what do we really mean, right? And it's such a cliche word to use nowadays because in times of pandemic like this, a lot of people talk about change, a lot of people talk about pivot, a lot of people talk about navigation, redirection. Now, in my own context, embracing change simply means accepting change, and instead of us resisting, it's about accepting change as something healthy, and how do we move forward for the betterment for ourselves and for our organization. So in very layman term, it's about accepting change and treating change as something very healthy, treating change as something that is good for our business and for our own personal selves, because I purely believe that as leaders, it all begins at our own selves and then to our organizations. So therefore, in very layman term, it's go with the flow, right? Treat change as now something healthy. I mean, Wesley, how can you say that it's something healthy? But yeah, I want to rethink and see how can we move on and how can we move forward? How can we move on? How can we proceed from this time? Now, instead of looking at back what's happening, embracing change, focusing on what's our foresight, what's our forecast, how can we change ourselves to adopt, to move forward? So that's my definition of that, Asmi.
All right. Thank you, Wesley. Is very good definition. In short, accepting change, uh, with the new normal. So
Yes.
maybe people will ask, why? Why embracing change is important? Why,
Okay.
Wesley?
Okay. So that's a very good
Why is
that's
it
a
so
very
important for people to embrace change?
Now, that's a very good question because if we don't change, we could be dead. Okay, that's a very bold
Yeah.
statement to make. Now, what I'm saying is in regards of organizations, right? So if we don't embrace change,
Mm,
chances are we may get
mm,
replaced, we may get substituted, we may get overtaken by our competitors, and so now, and the thing is during times like this, what is interesting for us to realize is that now if we don't change, we will become irrelevant for the people that we serve. It could be our staff, it could be our customers, it could be our target audience and all. So therefore, changing means how do we adapt to the change of the environment? How do we adapt to the change of our customer audience? How do we adapt to the change of our working environment, our strategy and all, in order for us to remain relevant? So the key is whatever that we do in terms of embracing change, the main idea is to make us relevant in front of the eyes of our staff, of our team, our organizations, and our customer audience. So when I say relevant nowadays, it's good to relook at how we think, especially our products and services must be quick, must be personalized, must be reliable, and so that we remain relevant in front of the eyes of the customer audience. So that's why nowadays it's so critical for us to embrace this change. And I always believe in this, Asmi. Now, we change what we cannot accept and we accept what we cannot change. So therefore, ask ourselves what is within our control that we could change in order for us to adapt to a new norm, to be relevant in front of the eyes of the customer audience. So that's my answer to you.
Very good, very good. That's the importance of embracing change. Yeah, but people will see, okay lah, I accept the fact because maybe we don't have choice. We need to make ourselves relevant in this world. So, as you said, if you're not, accepting the change, I mean, you are not growing and then you're dying. So, the question now, how do we embrace change? How and how to respond positively to change? Over to you.
All right, so thank you. And just want to better understand our audience here today, so that we can make this conversation here today more relevant to our people watching this right here. So in case any one of you here who's joining this right now, perhaps you can comment. Now, what do you do? As in, are you in sales? Are you like leading a team? You're a manager? Are you a business owner? Perhaps you can mention that in the comment at the side so that we can give better examples to illustrate along the way. So the question is what can we do in order for us to embrace change? Now, I would like to divide this into three very strict points to share that with you. And whatever I'm sharing with you is based on my experience, and whatever that I'm sharing with you is based on the research and the articles I read about crisis leadership. So before I go about those frameworks and all, I would like to share with you a very biased experience of mine in navigating during this time. So now for those of you here watching this, so I'm in the industry of training, speaking, and coaching, where I run a small team right here, a total of 5 of us. And we provide services, consultation, training to companies. So, and the main idea is we train persuasion and sales. And now, so we got badly hit because we can't do physical training anymore. So therefore, it was during the first day of MCO, we recollected ourselves. And what we need to do is we need to ask ourselves, and hey, how can we accept this time? And how can we navigate ourselves during this time? So me, of course, somebody have to take lead, right? So then crisis leadership, somebody have to take charge. And so that's where we decided we pivot our business. Okay, so let's look at what we have. What are the constraints? What are the boundaries that we have? What are the conditions that we could follow? What should we avoid? What should we do? Now, we realized that the conditions are, number one, we no longer can do physical workshop. It's almost like a fact. It's beyond control. We just have to follow it. What we can control is we need to ask ourselves on how can we still run training, coaching, and speaking despite of not physical, and how can we turn virtual? Now, a lot of people say, hey, let's go virtual and all. Yes, but then you got to understand that whatever that we design must be relevant to our customer audience. So my main customer audience that I serve, they are like B2B. So I train a lot of companies in different industries, insurance, banks, and all in sales persuasion. Now, so that's what we thought. Okay, so how can we design program? We need to understand the boundaries, the constraints, and how can we change and pivot along the way. Now, we are very grateful with the right sales strategies that we deploy. Of course, we're going to walk the talk, right? We are very grateful, in fact, during this time. Number one, we have no pay cut. We're not going to retrench anybody. We give a sense of security to all of our team members. That's one. Number two, in fact, during this time is one of the best times you've ever had in terms of growth. Now, when I say we look at this, we have on board a new whole of different sets of clients, including banks, even companies from Singapore, Hong Kong, and from Australia, because they got to know us through our work and all during MCO. Because we embark on giving virtual sessions, trainings in both our B2B services and B2C services, and as we expand our client database. So, and then a point of time that I learned from this is that the key principle that what went right for us was because it was during the initial days of our war room. It's like a hurdle meeting and say, hey, we can't let this company down. We're going to move forward, right? And one of the things that we did right is we reframe ourselves and to look at this is something which is very healthy And even to a point of time, I tell myself, now is the best time to run a business, a best time to go and serve our clients. Because why? You must understand in times like this, there is fear. Now, when there's fear, there's opportunity, which means during this time, then I told my team, now is the best time to reach out to our stakeholders, to reach out to our customers and tell them this one thing. If we are with our customers during tough time, they will be with us after the rough time. That's we decided, we just put everything, all those policies that we have last time doesn't work. We recreated ourselves, regather our thoughts, change our direction, and check with them. Hey, what do you need from us? What kind of services that you need? What are your preferences? So what went right was we treated it as something healthy, and we validated on the ground. So when I say on the ground means we literally speak to people that we know, our clients, our prospects, people who buy, never buy. We reach out to them and ask them and say, hey, what are you looking at? What do you need right now? What are the things that you're looking for? And once we have validated that, then we know what the ground needs. As one of my friends always shared, we must have our ears very close to the ground. Now, the reason why I say this, because I think that is one of the keys in crisis leadership that we must have. So we must be very close to the ground. So if you're in sales, you need to be close to your customers. If you're as a leader in an organization, you must be very close to the ground, your people, your team, your executives, even people down there on the ground, what kind of challenges they're facing and what they want to know in order for us to really understand what is the change in the trend. Now, let me tell you why I believe in this. Because as a leader, my bias experience is not just you've got one direction, everybody pass down. I think that is not so relevant anymore. I think it's about making choice and bold decision based on your validation and the information from the ground. You want to listen to them. So therefore, with that, I derive my own few principles that I thought of sharing this today. I mean, I just prepare a bit of research. And so now there are three things which are very important for us to embrace change in the perspective of leadership. So let me just go to these 3 points. Number one, the most important that I believe is a concept called agility. Now, agility means what? Be ready for unexpected circumstances. Now, during last time, okay, Asmi, you got more experience than me in terms of talent management. What are the key questions we ask talent interview? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Now, if you ask to any company, they will say, I don't even know 3 months from now where I'm heading to, right? So the thing is, we must be practicing agility to be agile in order for us to always be ready on unexpected, unforeseen circumstances. Now, when I talk about agility, it's about really be agile, be adaptable, and again, treat change as something healthy. Now, the key of agility is to always value speed over accuracy. Now means what? Traditional old way of thinking, let's make the right decision. So we take all the data, we take 2 months, 3 months, pass through protocols. Now we don't have the luxury of time. Now it must be fast. So why do I say this? So leaders nowadays, my bias experience is you need to make fast decision and bold decision. So when I say fast and bold, which means you literally can't please anybody, the key is to make fast and bold decision, the best that you can make. Now, knowing that it could change over time. So therefore, a leader must step out and say, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. So because in times like this, our staff, our customers, they also have fear. They don't know what to do. They must wait for somebody to give them a sense of direction. So therefore, a leader right now, crisis leaders should step up and to make a bold, fast decision instead of waiting for the right decision to emerge. So that's number one in agility. Now, number two, what I purely believe is in the way we communicate. Now, the next key point in crisis leadership is communication, where it is very important for us to have a communication that is based on our validation from the ground. So that's the reason why things like empathy, I saw ask me, you even hashtag empathy in your page, which is interesting, right? So going to the ground, listening to them, listening to the heartbeat, the changes of your staff, listen whether they have fear, some of them have maybe a fear of losing their job, fear of retrenching. So you got to listen to what kind of fear they have on the ground. So that the decision that you make is to address, say, you know what, we are here to stay. Nothing is going to go wrong. You're all going to stay in the job. So you need to shout out to them and to communicate in a way that so that you address to these concerns. Now, another key thing about communication is consistency. Now, especially during this time of crisis, I would like to think that things change very frequent, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, even on a weekly or even a daily basis. So therefore, constant communication, like corporate terms like war room, weekly hurdle, daily hurdle, are all very relevant this time. Because maybe whatever that you think is important today may not be important next week. So it's always very changing very fast. So therefore, the way you communicate between you and your team must be very frequent and must go down straight to the point. And you say, you know what, every week you're going to meet, every 2 days you're going to meet, we're going to discuss again, we're going to throw out issues, we're going to resolve arising concerns. So you're going to be fast. You're going to be faster. You're going to be always actively, consistently communicate with your team members. So that's why I believe the key. So the key is also to engage with them. So when there's active, consistent communication, that's when you're engaging people, you're hearing their dialogue, you have a dialogue with them, you hear their concerns, then they will feel that you're listening to them. Then chances are they'll feel more appreciated, validated. So that's a very good key point that I believe. Now, the third key point which I want to share with you is managing information. Now, during crisis like this, another enemy of crisis is rumors. Now, rumors means that things that you never say. Some people, they pass, and then they'll become what kind of news, right? So I think, therefore, in times of crisis like this, in companies, we must have crisis managers, which means the information must always come from the crisis managers. Cannot be based on hearsay. I heard that we're going to what? So we need to avoid fake news, avoid rumors. So with active communication, having the right person, the crisis leader, crisis manager to give out, here is what's happening, here is what we're going to do, and this to avoid the fake news happening. So I want to give you assurance that this ABC, that's our direction. So therefore, because crisis leadership is only tested during crisis. Now, and anybody can step up to become a leader. It's not just about the position that you have. It's not just about the title that you have. But for those who step up to give you a sense of direction, make a bold direction and decision with active, constant communication with your team, managing misinformation. So these are the three things that I felt is good on how we can embrace change during this time. Now, at the end of the day, the fundamental principle is to always look at change as something healthy. So that's my answer for you, Asmi.
Oh, good. I'm interested when when you say about agility. So be ready for agility, and then setting the right expectations, setting the right goals. I think at this moment, I think it's very critical and important for the leader to set realistic expectations. Say example, the sales target. We cannot based on the figures we have. But now with this COVID-19 affected us, I think almost. So I think the leader need to so-called changing the goal. So agility, yes, we need to be dynamic, and then the leader also should understand the situation better. The second one you mentioned about communication, very important as well. Consistency is very important, and also managing information in terms of fake news, etc. So we don't want to give or pass, fake news or fake info. So we want to make sure people understand what will be the right information for them to digest at this juncture. All right, very good. The next question I want to ask Wesley. How do you want to accept change or accept things that we cannot change at all? You see?
Okay, so that's like a very good question, because a lot of us here, if we focus on the wrong thing, you could end up very disappointed. You could end up very helpless, and there's sometimes you feel disappointed and helpless, and you lose a sense of motivation, you lose a sense of clarity. Now, and here's what I want to think, and this is called the locus of control. Now, the locus of control says two things. One are things within control. Two are things beyond control. Now, in navigating our times through crisis, we must always focus on things within control. Now, when I say focus on things within control, are things that you have absolute ownership, you can control, you have a responsibility towards it, and you can navigate it over time. So beyond control are things that you have no control, you have no ownership. Now, most of the time, things that is beyond control is a result of things within control. Okay, so what do I mean? Let me give you layman examples. Now, beyond control are things like number of cases of COVID infection every single day. Today is like 16, I think. So these are beyond control. I can't control the numbers in Malaysia, but what I can control is whether or not I practice social distancing. Another example on sales. I can't control how customers think of me, but I can control the way I speak. I can control the way I send my email, I do my pitch, I ask my questions. Now, I can't control how my team members judge me, but what I can control is how well I speak, how I communicate, and how I treat change as. So therefore, now, because if you're always looking at things beyond control, you will end up very frustrated and say, why are things not changing? Because we put our wrong focus to that. So therefore, now what you mentioned just now was very right. Now we talk about agility. Our focus is to be agile, to focus on things within control. Now, I talk about within control again. It's always about managing your top priorities. Now, there are many theories in this, and the 4DX is my 4DX, 4 dimensions of control is like my best that I really liked. It's focusing on things within control and to focus on top 2 to 3 goals only. Managing priorities, what's important right now, or what's of lesser importance. It's about navigating and let people know, okay, so in this time, these are the 2 things we want to address. Number 1, to protect our welfare. Number 2, maybe to go back to business, maybe recover back revenue. I don't know, right? So what are 2 to 3 wildly important goals, like very important goals for us to commit? So therefore, my answer to you is to always look at how we can focus only on things within control. Things beyond control, let it be. Let it be, right? We can only control things within control. Things beyond control, just let it be and just ignore. Now, most of the time, we can measure things beyond control, but we still always ask ourselves, in order for me to drive sales, I need to do ABC, then the sales will come. So it's to always look back, what do we need to do that manifest the results on things beyond control? If you're talking about sales, right? Okay, the moment you measure sales, it's already too late. So we call it the lag. It's like, okay, let's measure sales until now. It's already too late. Enough or not enough, it's already too late because it's already happened. So then we ask ourselves, okay, if you're not achieving our target, let's go backtrack. What are the things that lead to the sales right now? What can we change? What can we focus? What can we improvise? Now, for example, right now, let's say, now when you have a conversation with your team, there's fear happening, people have confusion. Now, this is a result. But we can ask ourselves, back on what's within control, is it because the way we give a sense of assurance is not enough? Or is it because you don't have enough engagement, you're not addressing their concerns, or they're afraid of certain things? So fear is beyond control. But what we can control is the way we communicate, the way we engage, and the way we structure our policies, the way we talk to them, the way we have town hall, the way we give directions, and so that's all within control. So that's my answer to you.
Interesting. Wesley, when you talk about locus of control, I mean within our control and beyond control. Sometimes people are overthinking of what will be happening in the future, which actually is very, very difficult to say. When we talk about the future, it's very difficult to say. All of us in this journey, we are using trial and error. Of course, with the data analysis, we can have a better direction. But people are, those people who are overthinking, and then end up they do nothing. So they can create to stress, you see, this stress and depress, you see. So this kind of issue actually is alarming, and you can see the current issue, reported by the government. Some of the people now is under depressed, under stress conditions. Your take on that, then, Wesley? What do you think?
You brought up a very interesting topic, because there are some people who want to change, and yet either they don't dare to change, or they wait for things to go back to normal, or they remain status quo. So, and the result, because they always wanted to do things like this, but they're not doing. So there's a mismatch between a reality and expectation. Fantasy. And then fantasy, correct. And they get demotivated, disappointed, they're not executing, they feel helpless, they feel tired, they feel exhausted, disappointed, they feel sad, and then they lose motivation, they lose the drive, and they just go swing in and out. Now, on worst cases, they may lead to things like, the anxiety and depression. I don't want to talk deep on that. Now, but the thing is that then they lose a sense of drive. My take is the reason why a lot of people felt so is because they treat change as something huge. When we talk about change, it's always a very scary word. And when I ask people again, so why do you think change is something very scary? And most of them will say, you know what, I always want to do that. I always want to transform. I want to be like them. I want to be like this. I want to make like this kind of money, right? And they always put very high expectations and a huge mountain of goals. Now, if you ask me, change can begin small. Now, and I always like to give an example of a snowball example. So let's say today we go on a mountain and we take a snowball and we roll it down from the mountain, right? So as you start to roll down the mountain, at first it becomes very small, and then it accumulates and compounds along the way until it becomes down, it becomes faster, it becomes huge. Now, the reason why I say so, because change has got to do with momentum. So what do I mean? So we have little milestones, little small wins along the way, in 1 day, in 3 days, in 7 days, in 14 days. Then the result will be manifested. That's one. Number two, when there's momentum, we have got speed, we have got more drive, we have got more accomplishment, we have got more confidence along the way. So therefore, my recommendation for people who are out there, if you're watching this, if you find that change is something healthy, let's gather back our thoughts. Let's treat something that's very healthy. Ask ourselves, what's our decision we're going to do? How can we communicate with our team? And how can we manage misinformation? And what are little small wins that we can engage? Little small wins that we can do. So that when you do 1, 2, 3, 7, 14, 21, when you have got consistency and momentum, you have a better sense of drive. Now, my next example to share with you. Now, what is real momentum? Momentum is like when there's a train coming your way and you want to stop the train. If the train is very fast coming your way, I think you better just avoid because it's very fast, got momentum, right? But if the train is stationary, you can even push the train because why? It has got no momentum. So my take is this. For those of you here, if you treat change as something very scary, just hold on a second and ask yourselves what are little changes that you can do. Please don't benchmark your day one with other people's day 100 because you're not doing justice to yourself. So it is always very good to begin right now. If you ask me, when is the best time to change? Yesterday, right? But we can't change yesterday. Let's change today. Ask ourselves, what can we change today? Tomorrow, look at small steps along the way. So that's my answer for Yasmin.
Thank you, Wesley. Very good one. I'm interested when you highlight the snowball effect. You see, the importance of taking the small steps, the importance of taking small actions, and then they will lead to the bigger impact and bigger snowball effect after that.
Yep.
So, but again, it leads me to another questions. Still, Wesley, there are still people refuse to accept the changes. This kind of people exist. You see? So they know that the fact they need to change, but they still don't accept the changes. Why?
Yes. Okay. So this adoption curve. So for those of you who like leadership, you can go and check the adoption curve. Adoption curve says that for people to embrace an idea, of course, we talk about, okay, let's go and change. But whenever we do that in organization, there's always a bell curve, right? Some people are the early adopters, the innovators. Then you talk about the mass majority, the laggers, and there are some who will always complain, right? So let's put that aside. Now, most people, why they resist change is because of 4 biggest culprits. And I'm speaking these based on my biased experience, coaching people in sales and leadership. Now, these are the 4 things that stop people from achieving breakthrough, achieving change, right? Number 1, the main one is a limiting assumption. So what's called a limiting assumption? A limiting assumption is a limiting belief, a limiting narrative that we tell ourselves that it cannot be done. I cannot. I'm not good enough. It's going to be tough, right? I'm not handsome enough. I'm not pretty enough. My English not good. I'm not a good leader. I can't sell. So whatever you tell yourself that you can't do. So these are called limiting assumptions. Limiting assumption means things that limit you from your fullest potential. Most of the time is your negative self-talk. And most of the time, these are just illusions of what you tell yourself. Now, here's the interesting part. Now, I'm a very enthusiastic person in NLP. I train NLP, right? And when we learn about human mind, 95% of our thoughts are unconscious, and more than 70% are negative. And here's the interesting part. More than 90% of negative thoughts in our brain is repetitive. Chances are, for those of you watching this right now, there are some inner negative voice in your mind as a leader that you tell yourself you're not good enough, language not good, you can't manage people other than you can't navigate change, you're not a good leader. Nobody told you so. This is what you tell yourself. So a lot of people have got these culprits in their mind that stops them from moving forward. So that's number one. These are called limiting assumption. Number two is what we call as fear. Now, what is fear? Fear is when you say, it cannot work well, right? And the biggest fears are fear of change, fear of rejection. What do people reject your idea? They prejudge you. So these are the two biggest change. We talk about fear of failure, fear of change, and fear of rejection. Now, why is fear there? Fear is there to protect us. Because if we have no fear, we're going to jump off from building. We're going to walk across the road just like that. We're going to touch the kettle even it's hot. So fear is good to protect us. Now, there are some people who overthink because they're too fearful and they continue analyzing things just happen past and then things don't move on. So managing fear is one. If you ask me, fear is good because fear is a signal of being cautious. Having said that, now we need to go and do it, because sometimes in our mind, it's just in our own mind and illusion, we do just take action along the way. So that's one limiting assumption. Number two is fear. Number three, what stops a lot of us here from creating change of ourselves is the number one nation in the world called procrastination. Now, why procrastination? Because when there is confusion, when people are confused, they have no clarity and they lose motivation. When there's confusion means you divide your energy into, should I do A, should I do B? When we are not clear, when we are confused, that's when they lose a sense of drive, they procrastinate. So therefore, procrastination is it's something which is very apparent that a lot of people have because human beings like comfort. We like to enjoy ourselves. However, for us to create change, we must step out from the comfort zone. Now, the last but not least, number four, that stops a lot of people from moving forward, embracing change, is negative experience. So what I mean by negative experience, maybe previous times, you get scolded before, previous times people give you unhappy face, previous times you're not converting a sales, previous times your boss scold you. So and all this negative experience in your head, you still keep it very vividly in yourself, and you're scared it will repeat. So therefore, because of negative experience that you have, and people don't dare to step up. So they choose to remain status quo. Again, these are all based on my biased experiences working with people, limiting assumption, fear, procrastination, and also the fourth one is negative experience. Yeah, so these are the four things that stop a lot of people from moving forward.
Interesting, Wesley. All right. I actually I want to highlight the things that you mentioned about limiting assumption.
Yep.
How? Example, if let's say you are in sales, you need to trust your products. But if let's say the salesman don't have a guts, don't have a belief to sell your products, so how customer want to buy your products if the salesman don't have confidence to sell the product, don't have the belief? So belief is, I think, having a strong belief, is a critical component. Very important to have a very strong belief. And then the second thing you mentioned about fear. When we face the change, people actually they don't afraid of the ideas. Sometimes they're afraid of the transitions. What will happen to me after these changes? Am I still in that position, for example? So it's more towards the transition part. People are okay with the ideas, but the transition part, they worry. Maybe they will affect probably their seniority, for example. So these are the things that people refuse to accept the changes. And then of course procrastination and also negative experience. also making people very hard to accept the changes. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. My next question, Wesley. As a leader, what kind of behavior we should have?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. And so before I address on the behavior part, now I purely agree with what you say. So belief is very important. Now, and that will somehow lead to our this as well, behavior of belief. Okay, so now belief is important is because when there's positive belief, we have positive emotion. When there's positive emotion, we have positive result. With positive result, it could lead to positive belief, positive emotion, positive action, which could lead to positive results. Now, and the reason why I agree with you with belief is because I purely believe that positive thinking is not everything. But when you're positive, it makes you perform so much better than being negative. And release to the answer right now that I give to you. Now, the behavior of a leader right now is optimism, right? So optimistic optimism means I know things happening right now. Of course, we can't ignore the pros and cons, but I choose to focus on the possibility and I choose to focus on the probability. And I want to explore on how to make it work and how we can achieve the positive results. Now, bearing in mind, I'm saying this not as a perception where, okay, let's go and ignore the negative side. We need to acknowledge that it's there. Just acknowledge that these are the risks that is there. I choose to pursue here and ask myself, it's not whether I can or cannot do. And it's to just ask myself, how can I make it work? Turn the I cannot to how can I make it work? So the behavior is we must be optimistic enough to give ourselves to focus on the possibility and the probability. Now, once we have that kind of optimism, it is very good for us to cascade down, to pass to our next line of leaders, to your managers, to executives, to the people working. Because why? At the end of the day, we want to give people a sense of assurance, a sense of direction, because if they follow you, if they work under you, they want to feel that, okay, good, I'm following this leader, this is where we're heading right now, right? And they know. It may not be the right decision, we don't know, right? Because we don't know until it happens to right or not. But at least they have a sense of direction. They have a sense of assurance. I think that's what we need. As leader right now, we're bold enough to be agile enough to communicate, engage consistently with our people, make the right move, have speed over accuracy, just take the decision and move forward. Optimistic enough for us to just embrace on the change, focus on the possibility. We acknowledge there's risk. You try to mitigate the risk, but you got to move going forward and we're going to agile, discuss with your team, have war rooms, have hurdles, have discussion, have masterminds, take idea, move on, take idea, move on, take idea, move on. So it's very forward thinking. It's very forward thinking what we can do, and it's very constant. It's always ever changing. So that's what I like. It's always about getting ourselves dirty. Behavior is always going to go down to the ground, validate with people, check with our people, and we have always got to be very active to just reach out to people, to be very proactive. So that's my take for you. Optimism is key. Yeah.
Thank you, Wesley. Optimism is a key. Interesting. I just want to bring attention to Wesley and also to the those who joined us today. There are two types of change. One is the forced change.
Yep.
The second one is the invited change. So invited change normally will lasting for long. People will buy the ideas.
Yep.
The question is how we want to inculcate or educate our leaders to have this so-called invited change to their team members. It's not forced change. People don't like to be forced, but more towards invited change. What are your takes on this?
Now, invited change comes from this. Okay, invited change is that you want to invite people to change, and one of the key principles is you got to walk the talk. Now, it's about sending, because, okay, most of the time, why do change seems forceful? It's because if you never do, how can you expect me to do? So therefore, how do we invite change? It's the first, us leaders must be the one who's going to walk the talk, who's going to implement the change, and we're going to practice that moving forward. So if I say things like, oh, we got to be agile, so we have to be agile ourselves. Okay, we got to engage and talk to the people, so we have to go and talk to the people first. We're going to validate with the market, so we're going to validate with the stars first. So it's about walking the talk, moving forward, and we're going to walk the talk and we're going to do it first before we show people what to do. So that's how I would like to think of the inviting change is very critical this time. So being leaders, we must first be a proof, a social evidence, a social proof to our staff, to our team, and to our customers first before we invite them to change.
Yeah, interesting. How about empowerment then, Wesley?
Yeah. So
How about
empowerment.
empowerment to the team members?
Okay, empowerment is
Do
good.
you-
I would like to think empowerment is the next key forward. So now that you walk the talk, okay, now you do already, right? Okay, they see
Yeah.
you change, good. So now for you to transit the change, that's when you empower people. Empower people simply means you give them a sense of trust. Okay, you're going to do this, you're going to propose this, you're going to do it yourself, right? So it's called empowerment. You empower people to do without micromanaging them. Now, so once you do it first, then you empower them to do. And once they're being empowered to do, and then you support them, even to the extent, even though they fail, your job is just to protect them. So empowerment is very closely related to this one key called holding. So holding is a new term. Holding means you're going to hold people, all right? And hold people is not just when they're successful. You also got to hold people and to give them an environment of comfort and a safe environment for them to try and explore. That's called holding. Holding means you're going to be there. If they drop, you're going to hold them so they don't hit hard on the ground. So therefore, empower them and to have the power to hold, to give them a very good environment for them to explore and change. In a way, as a result, they feel more validated, they feel more appreciated, and they have a feel of belonging, a sense of belonging, and they could feel they are part of the whole big purpose of the organization. They feel that, oh, I could contribute something, they feel more satisfied and all. So yeah, so that's a very good word in terms of empowering people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Taking that cue, Wesley. I think Asian normally, if you do 10 things, say example, you do 10 things and then you do 9 of them excellent. But if you do one simple mistake, people remember your mistake. So what is your advice for the leader, to see or maybe rectify this issue?
Now, I think being leader ourselves, back to the basic again, I can't change how people think of me, but I can change on how I manage this, right? So first of all, I think it's entirely okay for us to make mistakes. It makes us human. So the key is in handling mistakes and issues, right? I think first of all, we got to acknowledge there's an issue. So we seek to improve. We are all human after all, and we make mistakes. So the key is just how do we manage that information out? Now, is to always frame mistakes as lessons. So let me just repeat this one more time. It's always to frame failures into feedback. It's always to frame mistakes as lessons along the way. So long as we learn the lesson, okay, you know what? I acknowledge this. I made this mistake. I messed it up. And thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you so much for your suggestions. And I strive to improve. Thank you so much, everybody. And that's made me a true human after all. Leaders are all human. And therefore, I'm also prone to making mistakes, and thanks for all your feedback. Acknowledge that, and I hope to improve. And thanks for your feedback, thanks for suggestion, and I will strive moving forward. So the key is not to punish yourselves, not to say no, I'm doing fine. No, we are all human. Acknowledge that mistake and move on. When you do like this, chances are people will respect you because you're a human. Emotional connection is there, and people like you because you accept, you acknowledge, you admit, and you move forward. We all make mistakes, and we all will strive moving forward. Now, I'm saying this also based on my own experience because being a leader in the company, I make mistakes as well. Sometimes bigger mistakes, silly mistakes, lesser solid mistakes. Whenever I make a mistake, be the first one to say, I apologize, I mess it up, I screw up. I also want to improve. Thanks for your feedback. Now, the more you do, the more people feel that they get connected with you because after all, we're all human beings. So therefore, it's no longer just being like you're the always very good to bring the mass forward. I don't think so. It's about showing that we all make mistakes and that we accept change, we accept feedback, and let's go continue to move forward. So I think that's the key.
Interesting. So accept the mistake as a lesson learned to move forward to the. I think that we are all human. We are not perfect. Sometimes we do mistake, but apologize first. Interesting. All right. My next question to you, Wesley.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for the leaders to do right now in order to thrive during this time? I think it's a tougher time for us to recover. So what is your advice on this?
Okay, so my advice would be let's go back to the three things I've mentioned just now: agility, communication, and also managing information. So let's go to one, agility. Agility means okay. So let's gather back our thoughts. So let's gonna ask ourselves: we have to make a decision to change. Okay, whatever previous things that have worked previously, good ones we can replicate. The ones that are not workable, we just put them aside. So ask ourselves, what is a new direction for us to set? How can we be agile to move forward? So basically, just ask ourselves right now, what are our top 2 to 3 priorities? What's our direction? And this is where we're going to go. So we need to be agile. That's one. Number 2. So once we have decided on the direction, remember we talk about speed over accuracy. Just make a decision first and move forward. Now the 2 is managing information and communication. So now, how do you know it's the right decision? We don't know until we do. Now, most of the time, I ask leader, how do you know it's the right decision to make? And they all tell me gut feel. It's very interesting, right?
Gut feel.
Because it's a sum of your experiences and a sum of all your validation points. So make a decision. And then number 2 is managing communication. Have active communication engagement with your team. Close to the ground, ask them, have dialogues with them, ask them what concerns they have, what are their fears they have. Address all these fears because you always want to make your team feel safe during this time. Because when they feel safe, it is like a psychological effect. If they know that they can put food on the table, if they feel safe, then they don't have to worry so much after all. Because people always want to protect themselves first. If they know they're taken care of, then they can contribute to your company. If they work in your company and like, I don't even know whether I can work here next month, what is the chances they can give very good tasks? They can't, right? Because they're always losing focus. So manage communication, check in with them, hurdle meetings with them, weekly basis, daily basis. You got to engage with them. So that's the key. Your stakeholders, your business partners, your customers, your staff, your employees, your team members is very critical. So that's what you can do. Now, number 3, managing information. So we need to always constantly tell them, okay, this is our direction. So you're going to always tell your information and direction to your people. If not, right, you want to avoid misinformation. You want to avoid the rumors and so. So you need to step up and say, okay, this is our direction. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this for three months' time. You're going to step up and you're going to tell the information. So I think these are the steps that leaders can do right now. And I hope that this is implementable for you. Now, the key is, as a leader, have dialogues with your team. Reach out to them. Even though sometimes you're not used to it, reach out to them. Ask, hi, how are you? What any thoughts you have, any feedback you want to give, any plans of how we can improve? Reach out to them and just ask them. So, and I would like to think it's a very good time right now because you want to hear what's on the ground. So I would like to think that this is what leaders could do now.
Interesting. Very good points, obviously. All right. During this COVID-19, we always hear about, people, because a new norm, we need to think creatively. We need to be innovative. So it's well said and done. So, some of us will ask, hey, how to be creative, how to be innovative. Can you show the way? So this kind of question will come to their mind. You see, it's not easy. So, from your point of view, Wesley, how best that we can be creative and be innovative? So,
I would like to think that the secret of being innovative and creative is to first understand what is the problem. Now, because if we are very clear on what are the constraints, the boundaries, problems, the thought processes of our customer market, the people that we serve, if we clearly understand what kind of problems they have, only then we design a solution to address the problem. Now, creative thinking is a whole new topic. If you're going to talk about this, also it's going to be like an hour. Now, in very simple terms, before we talk about solving problems, to first how well we understand the problem, how it happened, reason of it happened, the root cause, what are the emotions behind, why people have this problem. Only then we understand the problem, then we can design solution. Design solution all comes back to try and error, because we wouldn't know until we test it. It can be benchmarking from people. It can be from designing a prototype, design thinking. There's so many ways for us to come up with creative and problem-solving skills. Now, it all comes back to try and error, to validate, check with them. This is what you're looking for. This is what you're looking for. Design, contest, again, come back. Okay, can I change again? Design, come back again. It's always about constantly validating along the way. So that's how creative thinking works. And again, we always see creative solutions from tech companies, from all the software company. That could be after their 100 iterations, 100 tries. So it's all based on iterations, validation, checks after checks, test after test. So that's how we be creative along the way. Once you're able to hit that tipping point, then you know your product works. It's worth it. So we just have to keep moving forward, validate, and just have to keep testing along the way. And there's a result of agility. It's all just keep testing. Reach out, ask, dialogue, test again. That's in terms of product design. Leaders as well. Because most of the time, leaders may not have the answers, because times like this in this COVID is unprecedented. We have all never experienced this before. Never been a time people locked down in their home for 3 months, 4 months. It's very rare. So we may not have the solution and all. So leaders, come up with the best solution as we think it is right now. Test with the market, validate with team members, listen to them. Oh, okay, good. We improve. Check with them, gather their input, because we're not the best in the way we think. Check with them. Again, test, implement, check. I think that's what we should do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wesley, I just want to share one so-called success story from James Dyson.
Yep.
According to him, to be creative, we need to put some continuous improvement, Kaizen, etc. So James Dyson, he look at things and then he improvise. For example, vacuum. They see things and then they say vacuum and then they improvise. And they see hair dryer and then they look at things at the hair dryer and then he improvise. So this is what on the creative thinking that James Dyson adopted. So that one of the so-called profile that I can share on this. Okay, we have questions from Raja Noizuddin. What is the best senior management engagement in the new normal? Does via Zoom or Skype effective as compared to the conventional town hall?
Okay, so thank you very much for the question, Raja Noizuddin. What is the best senior management engagement in the new norm? So I would like to think that nowadays, I'm speaking based on my biased experience. I've never run an MNC as a senior management before, so let me just dissect the boundaries of the answers I'm going to give you. Right now, if you ask me again, back to the basics, that we have to give a sense of assurance of where the company is heading. We're going to make bold decisions, because democracy may not work during this time, because we may not have time for democracy anymore. So the leaders himself got to acknowledge all these boundaries and make a bold decision. Okay, this is where we're going to head right now. Often there are supporters, people who follow you, some people who may resist and all things like that. So we're gonna move forward first. So we're gonna tell what's our direction moving forward, address the top 2 or 3 priorities again, and again address what's the issues, the fear in the organization. We're gonna move moving forward. So that's change management, right? Communicate one direction, then you want to story tell why we do it, the reason why this is our direction we're heading forward, this is what we're gonna do. So then the organization has a sense of direction. So I would like to think, so that's the best management decision to make. Tell us where we're heading right now in the whole company. Why we do so, what are some inner thoughts that I can debunk, some of the fears that I address, and how can I have all of you here to be part of this journey, and how can you contribute during this time? So you can check in with a team like this. Now, in terms of Zoom or Skype, effective compared to conventional town hall. Okay, here is what I want to share with you my thoughts, Raja Noizuddin. I used to think, based on biased experience, I used to think that, engagement is all about physical face-to-face. Yes, because face-to-face, I shake your hand, I give you a high five, got a better sense of connection. Now, but it doesn't mean that Zoom or Skype is ineffective. Now, I love Zoom or Skype for one reason, because of convenience. Number one, we talk about town hall. Okay, if you're in the same company, easy. People come to your auditorium, people can meet. It's good, it's easy, right? People can eat, can talk, and so. Now, in the new norm, if it's virtual, number one, people as far as East Malaysia, I just have to log in, you give me an ID. I don't have to fly here to attend a meeting. Save cost, save time, and I can get things done very quickly. So I would like to think that in the context of this convenience, Zoom, Skype is perfect. Now, why don't we use this last time? Yes, people are using Zoom meetings and Skypes last time. Just that the customer audience are not so receptive yet. During MCO, people already say, Okay, I'm going to go online. Just tell me which platform. Last time, you got to educate them why. Now it's like, okay, which platform to go, and that's all, right? So therefore, I would like to think that virtual is a very good tool to engage people at a surface level. You can even get anybody, literally anybody, frontline, anybody here to hop on a Zoom call. You can even run thousands and hundreds of people in that Zoom meeting. So that is for the surface level. Now, after you do so, then only you come to the physical one is okay. So therefore, when it's when it's just giving information, distributing information, updates, it's good to have town hall virtual. But once in a while, maybe once a year, 6 months, they can come together as a team. Then we can increase the human experience. That's why you could do so. Having said that, both are equally important, and it's one and another. So it's not just about all turn online. Let's go offline to online. I don't think it's that. It's about using both offline and online. Online, save time, save place, no need to pay parking a lot. Just you lack the emotional connection. Physical have the emotional connection, but chances are it costs a lot of money. Both are equally good, both are equally fair. If you ask me, both are very powerful. Of course, now we cannot meet first. Go online first, 1, 2, 3. After that, okay, then we go on face-to-face, offline. That's my answer for you.
Interesting. So we need to strike a balance, online and offline.
Yeah.
All right. I want to highlight about the things that you mentioned, Wesley. When we have the so-called town hall, conventional town hall, or maybe virtual town hall, there is a need for a leader to give clear direction. As a leader, sometimes they have some, concern as well, whether or not they want to be brutally honest about the direction that they want to go, or maybe the problem that the company counter. So honesty is the best policy. But to the certain extent, sometimes, leaders try not to tell the truth. Your comment on that?
I agree with you that honesty is the best policy. It's about being transparent. Now, I don't think it's not about telling the truth. I think it's just prioritizing the message to know what is the right message I want to deliver. Now, the reason why I say so because I'm just afraid if I say things that I'm not confirmed, it may send out the wrong signal. So therefore, I think it's about prioritizing the right message to deliver. Things that I don't wish to tell first, I just keep it aside and I don't tell first until I have more ideas and the concern that I reach out to people. Now, I think it's a matter of just prioritizing. Now, in a way, addressing change management is always to design a story on why you came up with that change. Now, the reason why story is because it engages people, where there's story, people know why you do so. So it's a story of change, a story of why you embark that journey. And I would like to think that everybody in your company should know why your company is heading to a new direction.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you, Raja No Israel, for asking the questions. It's a very good one. So for those who want to ask questions, just feel free to type on the chat box and then we will read out for you. If you have any question, please type out. All right. The next question. Your opinion, Wesley. Leaders are born versus leaders are made.
Leaders are born or leaders are made? Oh, that's an interesting answer. Leaders are both born and made. Joke. Okay, but there's a reason why I say this. Number one, the reason why I say leaders are born and made because most of the time, when you enter an organization, when you're born into a family, you enter an organization, you go to a team. We are being shaped in a certain way that we think is because traditionally in any entity, it can be social entity, it can be family, or it can be companies, or it can be association. Once you join a certain organization, there is already a preset of predefined culture and rules that we should do. I would like to think in a way, we always begin leadership as being born. I born to a family. The way I think as a leader is almost modeling my mom or dad, or even my brother or my sister, right? I join a company right now, day one. I will somehow model the way how the manager is. So that's what number one, I think is we are first being born into a leader or not. So let's say, for example, when I still remember my first job as a chemical engineer, I followed my manager. And the way I solve problem is depending on him because I don't know what to do. And I'm born into a culture. When I remember I was in my first sales job, the way I look at sales is depending on how the coach teach me. So I'm being born into a set of predefined rules. However, when I say the word born, first, make later means what? You then have a choice. Whether do you want to make a new rule for yourself or you want to make new rule of a team? And then I choose to, I can choose to adopt new rules. I can choose to make changes on myself. It depends on what you're heading to. So my answer to you, we are first born into a predetermined set of culture. Then we can make and change the rules ourselves. That's my answer for you.
Perfect. Wow, very good point, Wesley. All right. So open to the question. If you guys got questions, so please type in the chat box. Yeah. So we have our lovely speaker Wesley Chan, our sales breakthrough coach, and also keynote speaker. Take this opportunity to ask questions if you have any questions. Got? Don't have at the moment. All right. Maybe one final questions before we end. Yeah, Wesley.
Yep.
During this COVID-19, people are losing their jobs. Most of them losing their jobs. They got the pay cut and etc. And then it really affects other people's life, including our surroundings. Your comment. What is the best way for them to face these challenges? Yeah.
I think that's a very disheartening thing to see that some of us are being laid off. Anyway, some of us are being laid off because companies will sustain. That's unfortunately, if you are one of the chosen ones, it's just unfortunate. And I really feel sorry if any one of you are being laid off right now. Because if company don't lay off people, the entire company will shut down. Then we will eventually get laid off anyway. So now my take on this is that why not we look at whatever that we shared to be implemented on an individual basis. That means you ask ourselves again, now how can we be relevant in our job right now? How can we suggest, propose change to our managers, to our senior management, and say, you know what, here's what I think that we should do and transform. And to innovate on our own way of doing things right now, innovate, addressing, contributing, suggesting things, step up, give new ideas and all, in order for us to tell our management, say, hey, this is what we could do. This is what we can hit it to, right? And at least you put an initiative that you care for the growth of the company and your department and your division. Why don't we do so? Because if people can feel your contribution, chances are they can feel and they can validate you, then probably they will appreciate you more. Having said that, if it's really you're the unfortunate one, move on, right? So if again you're being paid a VSS or whatever MSS, VSS, or you're being paid a certain compensation, take it and move on. Now, if it happens to you, it happens to you. Regather your thoughts and ask yourself what's the best thing you could do. Now, you may want to look for a job, and entirely not every. There are still some industries are doing very well. I don't think a lot of businesses are very bad. A lot are still very good. A lot are still very booming and developing. I know of friends who triple-double their sales during this time. I know of some companies who grow their revenue like mad. There are also companies like this. Now, if you're talking about putting food on your table, I think it comes to, if you're really desperate in terms of that, come out from a comfort zone, look into totally new industries. At least we can give the best for our family first. If you decide to go freelance, go and do so. If you want to change job into a new industry, go and do so. Even to the extent that you want to partner with people, I think it's all back to survivability. Now, it's if you really can't, just look at the best job that you could do. If not, go freelance, go to the gig economy, look at your strength, what you have, what stocks. Stocks means your strength, your attributes that you have. Focus on that being first. I can't precisely tell you what to look for because there are just so many people out there watching this. I don't know what exactly that you do. Like what I said before, or to avoid ourselves from being retrenched, I think we should just add value to contribute to our company right now. Suggest new things, implement, come up with ideas and suggestions. If you are unfortunate ones, take it as a pinch of salt. Just move on. Look at the next thing we could do. Change, right? Go in a new direction, new industry, new portfolio. Because emotions don't put food on our table. That's very sad to hear. We got to move on. If you're a head of family, you're a leader of the family, you must be agile. Move on and see what you could do next. Sometimes you're going to be objective lah. That's my take. Yep.
Thank you, Wesley, for the very good points. All on points. That's good.
Thank you.
So we are very honored to have you tonight. Thank you for joining this Leaders Talk. I appreciate that. We learned a lot from you, a lot of inputs. Very good sharing. All right. So until we meet again.
Yep.
So we will end this. So guys, thank you again for those who are participating. Thank you to Wesley. I appreciate your contributions. All right. So have a good day.
Thank you. And thanks for having me again. Ask me. For those of you watching, thank you so much for your time. I hope that whatever I've shared has been useful for you.
Thank you so much, Wesley. Till we meet again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.